Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Titan Sports. I'm Enrique Medina.
Good to see everyone. I'm Oscar Rodriguez.
How's it going? I'm Alex Granados.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Ethan Michael.
And I'm Marisa Flores. As always, we're here to get the ball rolling to provide you guys with your weekly sports updates. Welcome to another episode of Titan Sports.
After years of trial and tribulation, it looks like Manchester United is back after winning their first trophy in 6 years. The Red Devils won the Carabao Cup this past Sunday, defeating Newcastle 2-0 with goals from Casemiro and Marcus Rashford.
After appointing Erik ten Hag as their fifth manager in 9 years, United is back to playing like one of the premier European clubs. This came as a surprise to many after an embarrassing 4-0 loss to Brentford in August and issues with Cristiano Ronaldo.
But Ten Hag has instilled a strict culture and has been aided by the signings of Casemiro and Marcus Rashford being in the form of his life.
Casemiro states, quote, "It's crucial for a manager to be obsessed with winning and nothing less than that. That's Erik ten Hag. He demands a lot from us. He strives for perfection," end quote.
Following Sunday's game, Manchester United will now look to win a rare quadruple this season.
On to basketball. Former head coach of the Utah Jazz, Quin Snyder has agreed to a 5-year contract towards becoming the new head coach for the Atlanta Hawks.
Snyder will be making his debut on Tuesday, the home game against the Washington Wizards, beside the Hawks' interim coach, Joe Prunty.
Joining the team more than halfway through the season, Snyder's hired with the intentions of stabilizing the team following the removal of Atlanta Hawks' previous coach, Nick McMillan. As of now, the Hawks hold 8th place in the Eastern Conference and looking to make the playoffs.
Snyder previously worked with the Hawks as an assistant coach before becoming the head coach of the Jazz in 2014.
With the new coaching in place, the Hawks strive to finish strong and earn their spot in the playoffs. It's without a doubt the way basketball has changed drastically in the last decade, starting from the way rotations are made with positionless basketball to the shot clock resetting at 14 seconds after every dead ball that doesn't change position. But perhaps the biggest change that has been to the game in the last decade is the increase of three-pointers attempted and successfully made by each team.
Within the last 10 years, the league's three-point average per game has increased by 15 attempts. Now, the Warriors have certainly held their end with their dominant run, utilizing some of the best shooters to ever play the game, such as Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant. This has changed the way that teams completely approach building their rosters moving forward.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, prior to 2018, there were only 5 NBA players who scored 70 points or more in a single game. Those players include Will Chamberlain, Kobe Bryant, David Thompson, David Robinson, and Elgin Baylor. Only 3 players joined this list in the last 5 years.
Devin Booker scored 70 in 2018, and this season, Cleveland Cavaliers guard Donovan Mitchell scored 71 back in January. And this past weekend, the newest member to join the 70-point club is all-star guard for the Portland Trail Blazers, Damian Lillard.
That's right, Dame Time is known as one of the most lethal shooters from the deep. On the historic night of February 26, Lillard successfully made a total of 13 three-pointers. This achievement is extremely rare in NBA history. Following the game, Lillard was drug tested for the first time in his career.
The longtime Trailblazer expressed his shock and fear while having to deal with this process, stating, quote, "That was actually the first time in my career getting tested after a game. Then aside from that, they know I'm scared of needles, and I know I got a lot of tattoos, but when you're doing a blood draw, it's different than tattoos," end quote.
It certainly is different than tattoos, that's for sure. But there has been a lot of speculation in baseball as to where all-star third baseman Manny Machado will play next. But the wait is over as the Padres have officially announced an agreement made to extend Machado's time in San Diego for 11 more years worth $350 million.
As players start to demand more in recognition for their hard work through compensation, and teams are having to sacrifice their future options.
Now, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred gave his input on the recent deal, acknowledging the pros and cons of the situation. Manfred first expressed excitement for San Diego's upcoming roster, stating, quote, "Done a really, really good job of capitalizing on their talent to drive their revenue," end quote. Manfred then expanded on that risk that comes with such a long contract, saying, quote, "The question becomes, how long can you continue to do that? What happens when you have to go through a rebuild?" End quote.
Baseball in the National League will be can't-miss television for fans this season, with Trey Turner and Bryce Harper reuniting in Philadelphia to perhaps return the Phillies back to the World Series.
The Dodgers pitchers recovering from their many injuries from last season. Another reunion fans are looking forward to is aces Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer playing for the Mets. Cardinals also were able to pick up Wilson Contreras to add more to the competition out west.
The American League will not be quite on the other side of the country. In fact, the New York Yankees and the Houston Astros are the two early favorites to win it all. Houston rightfully so, as they were the World Series champions last season, and the Yankees re-signing Aaron Judge and adding Carlos Rodon. Baseball fans are sure in for a treat this upcoming 2023 season. Tommy Fury, now moving on to boxing, has gone on to beat Jake Paul in the long-awaited boxing match this past Sunday. The match in Diriyah, Saudi Arabia has decrowned the YouTuber turned prize fighter from his 6-win fighting streak via split decision.
Fury set a consistent pace, going on to land clear and clean shots throughout the entire first round. However, Paul showed promise as he came back in the 8th round with a knockdown, making things extremely tight in the final round going into the scorecards.
The rivalry between Fury and Paul has been ongoing through interviews and social media for more than 2 years now. Paul originally began his online presence through social media platforms such as Vine and YouTube. However, Paul transitioned his focus towards boxing back in 2018 and continues to work his way into professional boxing.
The fight was originally scheduled twice, but was canceled both times back in December of 2021 and again in August 2022. Paul now holds a record of 6-1 and proudly states, quote, "Don't judge me by my wins, judge me by my losses. I'll come back. I think we deserve that rematch," end quote.
All right, now stick around because after the break for your weekly fix of CSU sports coming right at you, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. This is Titan Timeline. We're here to keep you updated with all the sports action here at home.
Cal State Fullerton women's basketball has defeated CSU Bakersfield 57-54 in their last home game on Saturday night, adding improvement to 13-15 overall and 8-11 in the Big West Conference.
This was the Titans senior night game, highlighting seniors players such as Nancy Paniotopoulos, Andritsopoulos, Anakin Frey, and Josie Morgan. At the moment, Frey is currently healing from an injury. With this, Nancy PA and Morgan saw increased playing time.
This was a groundbreaking game for Nancy PA, who was a starting player for the very first time in her career with the Titans. She gathered a total of 10 minutes playing throughout the game, snagging 3 rebounds and going for 0 for 2 in the court.
In honor of their senior night, Morgan and Nancy PA hopped off the bench and re-entered the court to close out the last 50 seconds of winning their game. The Titans are set to complete their regular season now on the road this Saturday against UC San Diego. Now stay tuned because next up we have our roundtable discussion coming right up after this break.
Hello and welcome back to our roundtable discussion. I know we talked about a few topics during this episode, but the first one I really want to mention for me as a soccer guy, is MANU. I'm a really big fan of them in the Premier League, so I'm really excited that that they won against Newcastle. I know Enrique is a big fan too of soccer, so what did you think of that win?
Right, I think it was exactly, it's just a reflection of this new Eric Ten Hag ball era, right? You know, as we talked about, he's kind of instilling this strictness, the high press. Lisandro Martinez especially, he's been fantastic. Casemiro's been fantastic. I think it's been a good revolution as far as getting more leaders on the team and also that strictness that we alluded to, right? And it's pretty much all finally coming together because they've always had the talent. They've had guys like Paul Pogba, obviously Cristiano Ronaldo's return, and for some reason it just hasn't clicked. You know, they've gotten close a few times. They got close with Jose Mourinho, but for the first time, it really feels like they're heading in the right direction. And especially with this being their first trophy in 6 years, that's where Manchester United definitely should be. What do you think about it?
And all their signings, they've pretty much hit on too. Obviously, Casemiro, 70 million. That's been probably the signing of the year. This guy's hurt, Eriksen, but they got him for free on a free transfer. Obviously, Lisandro Martinez, great signing. Anthony, a little too much money-wise, but he's contributed pretty well. Eric Ten Hag, he's just a serial winner. And I saw a press conference actually today about, it was Pep Guardiola. They just asked him about United, if they can compete in the title race, and he said, jokingly, obviously, he said, yeah, maybe if they spend more money. But just kind of ironic and tone deaf he says that when they're facing so many financial fair play allegations. But yeah, United, as of now, you can say they're back for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're not far from being in first place. They're in third place right now with 49 points. It's not far, which Arsenal's in first. But I like how you mentioned about Anthony because although he was kind of a big price tag on him, I think he has really contributed, especially with Rashford too. I feel like sooner or later they're gonna get like that little connection together. And finally, Rashford's finally like stepping up to his place as kind of like the man of the team because he's the one that had been carrying them. Because even in the Barcelona game in the Europa League, he's the one that scored the goal. And also too in Newcastle, he's the one that got the winning goal to make it 2-0. So I'm really happy for Rashford to be stepping up to the plate because I like how Rashford plays. I think he's really good. And then a lot of people criticize him because he does perform well in Man United, but when it comes to the England side, playing for the national team, he does not perform really well. As you know, the Euros, he missed that penalty, and then in the World Cup, he didn't do it very well as well. So I like to see he's being a little more consistent with the Man United side, the whole team to be exact, and hopefully they can push this consistency towards the Prem, and hopefully they can make a title push. But I don't know, it's kind of far because Arsenal, they look kind of deadly right now. So yeah.
Nice, yeah.
But yeah, on to the NBA with Quin Snyder. What do you guys think about that new contract? Do you think the Hawks are going to be a stronger team, especially with Trae Young and then...
Hawks have always been that team where I just want to see make some moves. I mean, they have Clint Capella, John Collins, I think should go. I don't think you can win in the NBA without a strong wing, so I think that's what they need. They got DeJounte Murray. That's still sort of new to see if that's working with Trae Young, but you can't win in the league without a wing. You know, you look at all the best players, Mike, Kobe, LeBron, you know, Kawhi, all these guys, they're wing players, Durant. So you need that to win in the game, and you know, especially with this positionless basketball where the big man's sort of extinct, you really need that 3-4 player to stretch the floor a little bit. What do you guys think?
No, I agree. I think every season heading into it, I think I always am kind of hopeful for the Hawks because they have that rep and they have, like you said, some key players, some I wouldn't mind, like you said, heading out and seeing some trade next seasons, hopefully. But they have a pretty even scoring record right now. So I don't think this trade hurt them at all because Snyder, he has really close connections with his players. He has a way of coaching where he just changes the dynamic once he gets there. And I think the Hawks desperately need that right now because they're in 8th right now in the East. And playoffs, they're just right around the corner. I don't know how many games they have left, but it's not many. So they need to make some moves, and hopefully with Snyder, they're able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I know like with the play-in tournament kind of changes it because I think it's 10th, right? The 10th team advances to the thing, which is like a little unfair for like the top teams.
So the entire conference.
But I mean, you always want to go higher, even though you're kind of like in the safe spot right now of making the playoffs. You don't want to be playing like a top 6 team or a top 3rd team, right? You always want to compete higher, so you'll have like, I guess, a little less competition for you in like during the playoff game.
Right, and obviously the goal for them is to reach higher, right? To not play in that play-in tournament. And this was a team that just a few years ago, I believe, made the conference finals. So they're one step away from actually reaching to the NBA finals. So maybe this is that next step to get them at least to that point. You know, the Eastern Conference has some big dogs with Philly, with Boston, with Milwaukee, right? So it's going to be tough, but there's no reason to think that the Hawks can reach that next level.
Yeah, to add to that, Snyder's number one priority is probably just going to have to get Trae Young reset, get him back to that level when they did make the conference championship. So that's going to be his number one focus, or it should be. So
I know we mentioned earlier and talked a little bit about how easy it is nowadays to kind of make the playoffs, but like we mentioned earlier, basketball is a totally different game now because to make the playoffs, you have to be a three-point scoring team, no matter who you are, if you're East or West. And we see that this season. We've had, what was it, the Clippers game last week? That was like the second highest scoring one in the NBA game. And then you have people, what was it, Lillard, that just had the 13 threes. So I think it's changing in a big way. It is easy. They're letting more teams in the playoffs, but at the end of the day, if you're not a shooting team and if you can't shoot those threes, then you're not really going that far.
I feel sorry for the big man too. Like the centers, they expect them to shoot the 3-pointers too now. Like it's crazy, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, onto the boxing with Tommy Fury and Jake Paul. I know you had some comments about that. What do you want to say?
Well, you know, the biggest thing about boxing last 10, 20 years, or more 10, is that they don't fight each other. Right, it's so political now where each promotion company, they just have their own belt, basically. It's pick and choose who they fight. That's why I feel like UFC has really taken a stride because Dana White, say what you will about Dana White, he picks the right fights. And I feel like in any market, in any capitalism market, when there's a hole in the gap, it's going to be filled. And that's, like, I was sort of questioning why this Jake Paul fight's such a big deal and why it's so big. I was clueless. I wouldn't know why everybody's talking about it, but I understand there's a big hole in the market. You know, if you guys know anything about Lil Wayne, right? He had this whole contract thing where he couldn't release albums in like 2015, 2016 till 2018. And then you see all these like Lil rappers, Lil Uzi, Lil Yachty, and it's the same thing here where it's like now we're getting these discount fighters like Jake Paul, where I would much rather see guys like Mayweather, Ryan Garcia, and Tank, who have lived and breathed boxing. Like just like in any other sport, you see like Tiger Woods, Kobe, LeBron, any other sport really. That's what's fun about the game is that they're very human, but they're machines in the way they play. And I don't know, you guys saw the fight?
I did, but I completely agree. I think he just came into the business, into this whole industry with a lot of hype behind him from his whole online influencer career. So he already had that audience, and then his whole family just also being involved in that industry. They're big marketing people. So I think in terms of marketing, Jake Paul has made all the right moves, of course. Just from this fight alone, he even posted a video after losing. He still has $30 million. So I think he made the right move in accepting the fight, but I don't think he's getting that rematch anytime
Clearly,
soon.
we're talking about him.
Well, he has a
yeah.
rematch clause. It's up to him, so.
We'll see.
I don't think so. Just kidding. Now, onto probably the biggest story that happened in the last week is Manny Machado. Signing that 11-year extension contract with the Padres. What do you guys think? You guys think he should have signed it? Maybe look at other options, or?
A lot of great players. You got Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani here in Orange County. But to me, I'd say Manny Machado, best player in the game, because when pressure makes diamonds, you see in the playoffs.
Oh, you say that.
When you see in the playoffs when pressure comes, he gets a lot of criticism for being a dog, but I need you to have that dog in him when in the playoffs and when the going gets tough. And he's always barking, he's always ready, and he comes in the clutch. He hits home runs and he hits RBIs.
I do think he's that perfect leader that San Diego needs, but it is a very risky move because they already have these large contracts with Fernando Tatis Jr. They signed Xander Bogaerts. You got other guys like Joe Musgrove. It's very risky in that sense of financial reasons, but in terms for their team, it's great, right? He's a great leader for them.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of money just to be in second place. But
I'm excited. I don't know about you guys, but seeing Philadelphia last season, how far they got with Bryce Harper, and now how they have. I know we're not excited as Dodger fans, and definitely don't want to see them go that far. But I'm interested. I'm interested to see how they're going to do because they just added another big-time hitter, another great shortstop. So in terms of their defense and offense, they added a big-time catalyst.
Real quick, who would you guys, if you could pick a player to start your franchise, who would you guys pick?
Well, now Ohtani.
Ohtani? That's a good pick because you get both.
Him and
Pitching,
Jeremy
pitching
Pena
and
probably.
hitting.
Who?
Him and Jeremy Pena
Pena.
probably.
Okay.
Pena's a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
one.
I think he's a little overrated. He's good, but no, I mean, you have to pick a guy like Juan Soto or Ronald Acuna over Jeremy Pena.
And Soto's a big staple. Soto would be a close second for me.
Honestly, I don't know, bro. But Pena's a good one. I like Pena, or even I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like Juan Soto. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, Soto would be a really
He's a little
close
cocky.
second.
don't get
It
me
was
wrong,
tough for
but-
Juan Soto and Josh Bell because they got traded. When you get traded in the middle of the season, it's hard for players to adapt.
I mean,
and
definitely
people
going to be an
underestimate
interesting
that,
season
yeah.
to watch. But thank you, Titans, for tuning into this episode. That's all the time we have for today. I am Oscar Rodriguez.
Thank you, everybody. I'm Enrique Medina.
See you again. I'm Alex Granados.
Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Marisa Flores.
And I'm Ethan Michael. And hey, give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter if you haven't already at CSUF Titan Sports to keep you updated on all things sports.